What does it take to be a successful entrepreneur? A dangerous amount of coffee and a ton of grit. My name is Jason Tracy, and every week I interview business leaders to share their stories, life lessons, failures, and advice with you. Welcome to Coffee and Grit. What is up? What is up? What is up? Welcome back to another episode of Coffee and Grit. And I've got my friend Scott Lee from Exceptional Mortgage in the studio today. His first time in the studio, so super excited to have him on the cameras and to dive into his story. I've been looking forward. I think we've had this on the calendar. It's probably been almost a year that we've been talking about this now, and just different things happened. And then the last time we had him scheduled, he got COVID, and so here we are finally in the studio, and I'm excited to talk about what makes Scott. What's been his difference maker? You know, I know just flat out. Being a guy that answers the phone, being a guy that follows up, and so diving in and talking about that client experience and how you got here today. So Scott, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This is, we've had it planned for a long time, and unfortunately here 6 weeks ago, ended up with COVID. Great. No, I'm glad to be here, and fun thing to do.
Well, we were just talking beforehand of like recording an episode, and, sometimes anything happens for a reason. And then sometimes, COVID sucks or whatever, or you get sick, and that's never good, but sometimes it works out for the best.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
So Scott, tell me a little bit about yourself.
All right. So I've pretty much born and raised here in Michigan. I've been in Brighton for the last 52 years. I've been in the mortgage business for 28 years. Graduated here from Brighton, 1985. Got three children graduated from Brighton as well, and 4 grandchildren. So life is good.
That's awesome. And you're just sharing with me what's really cool is how I love how the world is small. So I'd like to bring this up that you actually went to school with Cheryl Wachalewski.
I did.
That was on a few weeks ago.
Yep. Yeah. Me and Cheryl went to school for a long time together. She lives on the same lake as I do, right on Woodland Lake. So,
Small
for sure.
world. I love how that kind of comes around and happens.
Absolutely, for sure.
So, what was your journey? Getting into mortgage. How did you get into that?
So, you know what? I've sold a lot of things in my lifetime. After being in the military, after I was in the Army, once I got out of the service, didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I answered an ad in the paper. Set up a display of small electrical appliances. I'm like, I don't know what this is going to be. Let's see. Well, it turned out to be Kirby vacuums. Yes. So I was a Kirby salesman for 3 years, opened my own company for a year as well. Did good with that, but got out of the Kirby vacuums, and I decided to look for a different type of sales position. So I actually sold cars. Sold cars for about 3 years down in Livonia. And then after cars, I sold a membership to a gentleman who came in to buy a car. And he said, hey, you know what? I think you'd be really good at this mortgage business type thing. And I was like, okay, fine. So I talked to him, did some interviews, decided to go for it. And even before that, I managed Bally's Victani for almost 7 years. And I enjoyed that as well. So I've done a lot of sales, and I wasn't sure about mortgages, to be honest with you. But like I said, 28 years later, here we go. So I really enjoy it.
What's kept you in it?
You know what? I think it's a passion. I really, really enjoy working with a first-time home buyer. I love to educate people. I love to explain to them why I need this, why I need that, what the process is going to be, and we're going to get you from point A to point B, and you're going to go from renting a home to now owning a home and building up your own portfolio instead of helping the landlord pay his own rent.
One of those things like getting and separating yourself and being a difference maker, and being able to educate people and take them through a process and like help them because it's got to be a pretty complicated process, or it is a pretty complicated process. It can
be. There's a lot of things that are involved. Different people. One person's a W-2 employee. One person's self-employed. Not everybody. It's not the same criteria. Not everybody fits in that square hole. If you're a square box, we got a round hole in a square box. As a broker, I might be able to shop different lenders for programs and things like that, bank statement, whatever the case may be, in order to get everybody as many as possible into, that first home, that dream home, that second home, whatever it may be.
That's awesome. So you talk about, I want to dive more into the Kirby vacuum stuff because like if you can sell Kirby vacuums, you can probably sell just about anything.
This is true. I still remember my spiel, and I got to tell you really quick. So this has been close to 40 years ago, but I remember, as funny as it sounds, it was a upright hand portable electric broom canister, buffer, fluffer, shampooer, inflator, deflator, water gun, suds gun, paint gun, sander, massager, polisher, and a zip brush.
That's impressive.
That was Kirby.
And wasn't he just saying beforehand that he's old and he couldn't remember stuff? Like then he spits out this thing like.
Well, you remember certain things, but yeah, that was my spiel when I used to sell them, and they weren't cheap. They were $1,300 basically, $1,195. I used to say plus tax and plates because it was like a car.
Yeah. They have a transmission, right?
Basically, they do. As a matter of fact, I own two of them. I own a repo and that I bought from a friend of mine, and I bought another one on Craigslist here a few years back. So they're a little heavier. I have one on one floor and one on another floor. So I'm sold.
This is the thing that, getting the visual. I don't know if you've ever been, anybody listening has ever been sold a Kirby or has had somebody come to their door, but like they're coming to their door with a vacuum that weighs. How much does that thing even weigh?
You know what? Empty, it's probably around 15 to 20 pounds, something like that.
Okay.
It does have a handle so you can carry it upstairs and, that sort of thing. But they are heavier vacuum, but at the same time, again, they do everything and they're still one of the best machines out there.
Yeah.
They last forever.
The product is phenomenal.
It is.
It's just the method of like coming into somebody's home that you don't know.
Yep.
And I'm sure the demo speaks for itself quite a bit.
It does. When I first looked at it, told my boss, I was like, nope, I'm out. I'm not doing this. I went out and showed 8 of them and sold 7 in 4 days. I sold as many as 7 in a week, 4 in a day, 12 in a week, 4 in a day, and 24 in a month. Those were my goals that I had. So it was good. It was a good business. You learn a lot of different people. I've spent 5-6 hours in people's homes vacuuming. Never made a sale.
Yeah.
I've spent 30 minutes and told the guy I would pick up a bowling ball. And he goes, I don't think so. I said, roll out your bowling ball, roll out your checkbook. You just bought yourself a Kirby. Pick up the bowling ball. He's like, that's pretty powerful. Let me see what else it does. And I sold him the Kirby. So it's all good.
Like, wait a minute, making bets like I can pick up that bowling ball.
It happened to be 3 middle-aged guys drinking a few beers, having a good time. I knocked on the door, handed them a silver platter or steak knives or whatever we were given at the time. And it was literally right in my neighborhood. And the guy's like, yeah, roll it on in here. We'll look at it. You ever just drink a beer, having fun? No idea that they're going to, write me a check for a Kirby vacuum before I was done an hour later.
So, Kirby was your first sales experience.
Yes.
So you go out in your very first sales thing, you're selling a $1,300 vacuum back in what year is this?
That would have been 1989.
1989. So $1,300 vacuum back in 1989 was literally like buying a vehicle.
Like a $3,000 one now. Yes, exactly.
And you went out to 8 appointments and sold 7.
Now, those were friends and family.
Still, though.
Now, my parents bought one to this day. Unfortunately, they've both passed, but to this day, it's kind of like I had swampland for sale in Florida. They would have bought it. No, they wouldn't have. If it wasn't a good price, my dad would not have wrote a check and bought a Kirby vacuum. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Never, ever. I still have that particular one still around the house as well. So I have an old one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Like one of the originals that you sold. That's kind of cool.
Yes, from 1989.
But so like, did you have that? Did you continue to have that success? I mean, you talked about like, you're going to have the moments where you go out and you could be selling for a week and not have success, but did you see an instant success or did you have to work at it?
It's definitely something you had to work on. Not everybody, first and foremost, can afford. Not everybody puts in their mind, like, I'm going to spend $1,300 today for the top of the line vacuum cleaner, type thing, but at the same time, you just got to show its value.
Yeah.
You got to show what it's worth. You got to show what it does. And then it sells itself. I mean, it's got a lifetime warranty for $99. When you buy it new, you could have it rebuilt. So it's a brand new machine again, which, that's pretty huge.
Yeah. So even to kind of go deeper into that, and for me, when I first got into sales, I was going door to door. I was selling coupon booklets, so I was selling much less expensive items than what you're selling door to door doing a vacuum cleaner, right? And so I'm like back then it was $20 coupon booklets, and right, and like if you literally just got a pizza, like you get a free pizza and you get your $20 back. It was a no brainer. It was stupid, and I struggled. Like
I get it.
I was not a natural at doing this, and so I struggled, and so was it something that did you have any kind of a struggle having conversations, or did you just pop in and see a value?
You know what? To be honest with you, when I first started out, I wasn't the one knocking on the doors. We had a sales manager that would pretty much knock on the door. Hey, how are you doing today? Here, let me give you a free set of steak knives, a new free silver platter, something.
So you were lined up to warm appointments, essentially.
To a point. I mean, we'd literally go, we would jump in a van, sometimes depending if we had appointments, and we'd jump in a van and go knock on doors. To be honest with you, a lot of like nicer trailer parks and different things like that. You see, newer cars out front. Hey, these people like toys, blah, 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 smaller homes. We're not going to multi-million-dollar homes to try to sell them a vacuum cleaner. Those people have somebody else to clean it for.
They're not buying the vacuum for them.
Exactly. Even
if they buy why? One, oh, that makes all the sense in the world.
They're not vacuuming. They're having other people vacuum for them. Even if they own one.
Yeah.
Again, it was just different. But again, it's one of those luxuries. By no means a necessity, but at the same time, it lasts forever. You get what you pay for.
Did you see though, for your value, did you see that you were serving people, or did you have any kind of adversity towards sales at all?
You know what? I did a little bit, only because of the cost.
Yeah.
Again, the full one, when I sold it was $1,295. Now it would even qualify for a home improvement loan, a HILA, home improvement loan account, right through PNC Bank or First America back in the day. But it was one of those things where, okay, it showed value and people could take a loan out for this thing. And again, as long as you showed value, and it was one of those things that people realized, wow, my vacuum really sucks, or really it doesn't. It's not working, so I need a newer one. You just had to show that value. And if you showed them the value and you could literally make it affordable, people would usually buy it.
Yeah, yeah.
So they would sell themselves. I was known as a Filter Queen King when I was selling out of Howell, because 12 out of 14 of the first Filter Queens I took in on trade, because we take anything in. I'll sell you Kirby. I'll take in your rowboat. I'll take in your, rototiller, whatever the case may be, to make a deal. My boss would take it in. I'd get paid a lesser commission because I sold it for a lesser amount, but it's still a good machine.
Then would you guys sell the item that you took in? What would you do with that?
Not me. My boss would, the used vacuums, he'd go out there and sell it to a used vacuum cleaner place.
Yeah.
He'd throw it on, again, Craigslist or one of the other sites back in the day. I mean, it was Craigslist back then, but something.
Yeah.
eBay or something. He'd sell things, but yeah, we took in all sorts of crazy stuff.
And I just love that story of picturing it packing up the rototiller.
Hey, we don't need this thing. What else you got to trade in? We got a rowboat. We got a rototiller. My boss took in all sorts of crazy things back in the day. But whatever, you did what you could do to make the sale.
Yeah.
Again, you got paid a little extra commission, but at least you made the sale. And the people were happy. That was all it was about. Putting the deal together that made each customer happy. And again, we tried to do the best we could. Certain times you couldn't make it happen. Certain times it wasn't affordable. Certain times you couldn't get them financed because, again, you had to finance it like a car or anything else. So, and they weren't cheap rates either when you were buying them. So
yeah. I mentioned at the beginning, and there was even an episode of Steve Ziskowski when I had him on last year in July. He mentioned you and talked about how when people call you, you answer the phone. And tell me about that.
So I look at it this way. I work from 8 a.m. till approximately 10 p.m, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I'll even answer if it's one of my customers and I know who it is on Christmas. My wife hates that. I do it. I do it on vacation. I did it in Hawaii a few years back. She's like, why you talk to this customer? Because it's my client. So that customer service, and I've probably been to between 80 and 90% of my closings in 28 years, only because of the fact that I think it's the most important part of the transaction is being there at the end. Those customers have questions, concerns, anything like that. I want to be there for them so they know I'm okay, I got the sale. See ya, I'm out of here. I got people in my cell phone right now that have been in my phone for 20 years.
Yeah.
And I've had the same phone numbers since Nextel, way back when people are like, hey, dummy, can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you, dummy. Yeah, it's just one of those things that I've had the same number for 25 years. I've still got clients in there that I started with way back when. If they call me, I've got their phone number in there. You probably don't remember me. I'm like, sure I do. I remember them. I remember their kids. I remember their house. I remember a lot of things about them, type thing. But again, it's just one of those things in sales. You got to know people. You got to remember people. Sometimes you might remember their name, but you remember their face. Like, I remember you. I sold you something, Kirby vacuum, a car, something over the last, 25 years.
Yeah.
Or 35 years, I should say. So yeah, I just love sales.
Do you get recognized as you're out in public still from like those different things from so long ago?
I have. Kirby mostly, cars I did in Livonia. You don't run into as many people, in this area that you sold out there. But I sold cars out that way for about 3 years in the Livonia area. But no, I still get people, mostly because of the area. Again, I've lived in this area for 52 years.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, went to 2 different high schools, Howell and Brighton High School, and just have a lot of friends and coworkers and classmates and things like that I still have on Facebook and different things like that. Again, you may not see them all the time, but at least you're still communicating with them somehow.
Yeah.
So
that is what's cool about social media coming around is there are so many people like, you think about class reunions and stuff like that. Now, a lot of times that'd be the only time you'd see people. Now you can catch up and see people from all over the world, all over the country, wherever they're at.
It's crazy. I'm going to my 40th coming up here soon. So
wow.
I'm like, oh my God, that's just crazy to even think about. But yeah, it's been a long time.
Going back, we're talking about, remembering your clients' names, remembering their, the specifics of their situations and conversations you've had. What is that response that you get from people when you remember that?
It's funny because a lot of people will text, you probably don't remember me. I'm like, yeah, I do. Of course. We did this and did that, whatever. Sometimes I'll even remember, hey, is your kid still in doing this or doing that? Or you're still collecting cars or whatever it is their hobbies were. I think because of the fact that I've been in sales so long, you tend to remember people, remember their situation, remember what they you kind of know a little bit more about their background. And I think that's one of the things that I really appreciate myself, that if people remember me, like I bought a car from 10 years ago, if they still remember me or still reach out to me, that's huge.
It's huge.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm going to reach back out to that person when I am ready. Hey, guess what? You're the one that's been sending me birthday cards. You're the one that's been reaching out to me every few years or whatever the case may be, an email campaign, anything. I'm gonna reach back out. Are you still in the business? That I get that one all the time. Hey, it's been a long time. Are you still in the mortgage business? I'm like, yeah, I'm still here. Beating the pavement, I'm here. So if you need me, call me.
It's just the value of those relationships and, taking care of people. You said, if you're in sales, but I guess if you've been in sales for this long, hopefully you're taking care of clients this way, but it's not the natural thing. And I think it's a lot of people like struggle over the course of their career to be consistent in sales. And, I talk about difference making a lot. Mm-hmm. I love this aspect of those relationships that are lifelong in people that do business with you, that have done business with you across so many different spectrums. Like,
oh, absolutely.
It's happened for me. My wife, she's done several different things here in this community, from cell phones to selling motorcycles to selling cars to, selling jewelry. She's been in so many different things, and she runs into people still to this day that have,
hey, you sold me a motorcycle. Hey, you sold me some jewelry. Yeah, for sure.
A lot of times what's awesome is like, they may not necessarily recognize her, and she'll walk up and be like, Mark,
I know you.
Right. And they're like, oh my God, Gracie. And then they start talking, and, it's really cool. It's those relationships that I think that to be successful in sales over the course of your career like this, you have to kind of have that mentality of taking care of people and wanting to, getting joy out of seeing families grow and kind of, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Again, the passion, you either have it or you don't have it.
Yeah.
The strong survive and the weak will die in sales. We always say that, but at the same time, you have to have a passion for it. You have to have that drive. Even right now, the market's tough with the higher interest rates, with the lower market and things like that, with the inventory. But at the same time, I'm still working with people, not as many, but I'm still working with people, and they're like, yeah, it might not be a good time. I'm like, you know what? Buy the house now. We say love the house, date the rate. And otherwise, love the house now. The market's going to go back down. The house prices are going to go back up. You're better off buying now instead of continuing to rent and waste all this money that you can't get anything for. You have nothing to show for it at the end of it. So again, that passion to help out, again, with a first-time home buyer, that person that's downsizing, hey, all of our kids are moved out now. We don't need this big house anymore. Don't need all this property anymore. We raised horses. We don't need all this anymore. We want to downsize into a condo, into something smaller, for just me and the wife, or, that sort of thing. And again, you get that passion to, help people and continue to do so.
It's like basically taking care of people throughout their life transitions.
You try to keep, as long as you take care of people, usually they'll take care of you. They'll come back to you. That's not always the case, but in most cases, I find that to be the truth in our business. Whether, like I said, whether you're, car sales, mortgages, real estate, whatever you may do, insurance, if you take care of them and that sort of thing, and keep them abreast of what's going on in the market, and try to just keep everybody in the loop, majority of the time they're going to come back to you because you've taken good care of them and you continue to do so.
Yeah, because again, it doesn't take much to be better than the average in the sense, and I don't say that like in the sense of loosely, I guess.
I get it for sure.
There's those little things of calling people back, of answering your phone. That I say there's little things, but that takes work.
It does. The calling of the phone, you mentioned that one. People call, even if I don't recognize the number, and you get a lot of spam, I'll still answer it most of the time and be like, you know what? I don't know if it's a client. Maybe it's a referral. I'm also licensed both in Michigan and in Florida. So I get Florida calls, and I'm like, I don't know if it's a spam call or if it's a potential client. Yep. So I'm like, you know what? I got to answer the phone. Again, my wife said, we're out to dinner. I'm like, yeah, but you don't understand. My phone's ringing. My doors are open is the way I look at it. You know what? My business is open. So I literally, like I said, from 8 a.m. till 10 at night, I'll answer the phone. A lot of times if somebody's working, and they don't get off till 6 a.m, I'll just make sure I'm up and ready to go and take their call at 7 or 6:30 or whatever before they go to bed, because that's their shift. I work around my customer shifts and clients, schedules.
Where did that commitment come from? How did you start that?
You know what? I think it's just one of those things that, again, you kind of have it or don't have it. It's got to be that work mentality. I played football very young. In 1976, I was part of the Brighton Broncos. I was only able to play 1 year. And the reason I was only able to play 1 year, because I was a paper boy. I did paper boy for about 3 years. I was putting out, 70 to 80 papers on the weekends. Well, my parents would help me, and I'd drive a bike or put in the back of the car around our neighborhood. But I went from that to I was a stock boy at 12 years old. I've worked. I've never stopped working. And I just think it's that mentality, like you want something, you got to work hard to get it. Mm-hmm. And that's what it's all about. So like I said, I tell my kids, I got 3 of them, and I'm like, listen, I can do it. You can do it. It's not going to kill you. Just get out there and work hard. You get what you pay for.
Essentially, you built your foundation from an early age.
Correct. And both my parents were like, you know what? These are nice things. You want it. You got to work for it. I was never really given anything. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I had to pay rent or food or anything like that, but any extras. Hey, you want that mini bike or something? You know what? I'll help you with it, but you need to pay for it. Or you want something else, or you want that video game, way back when, setting ourselves for the old Atari 2600, so we're dating ourselves here. But at the same time, you want that, you're going to work for it. I'll help you, or I'll, do something. Roller skating. I love to roller skate. I roller skated, the speed team the whole time, years ago.
Wow.
But at the same time, they would give me money to get in, but it's like, okay, you want drinks, you want pizza, you want, whatever else you want, your munchies, you got to work for those. I'm not going to give you everything. I'll get you in, you can go roller skate, but you need to use your own money for spending money to do things. Go to the movies, take a girlfriend out, whatever the case may be. You had to pay for that.
Yeah.
So that was instilled in me early in life. And again, it's one of those things that I always look back at.
I love that because I think that's such a huge value to have your kids be able to work for it and get that mentality at an early age.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yep.
How did the military impact what?
So I really enjoyed my time in the service. I was 18 months over in West Germany, and that sort of thing. It was one of those things that they don't take any grief. You pretty much, you do what you're told. And I think at a very early age, I was like, okay, there's always going to be somebody as my boss. Even if I owned a company, there's still going to be somebody that tells me what to do and what to do, or what to do, where to do it, and how much, and your people you're buying from to sell a service or a product. So I think I learned early on, there's always going to be somebody above you. So you have to pretty much learn to listen and just do what you're told to a point, and you'll get further in life. And that's what I've always done.
How do you do that?
It's hard. It is hard. It's hard to take responsibility. It's hard to listen and what people tell you. You have to believe it. You have to live it, and you have to execute it.
We were talking about it a little bit before here, and just to kind of shift the subject a little bit, how you've recently had like a major weight loss, and I'd love to talk about that. I think that's really awesome.
You know what? It's just one of those things as we get older, you start doing doctor's visits and things, and they're like, oh, you're this, you're that, your health isn't as good as it should be. You may be slightly heavier than you should be, kind of thing. So I was like, you know what? Now's the time. I've already had a goal set, which is over, like I said, I told you before, about 900 days if I hit a daily goal. That I do. And along with that, I decided, you know what? I'm going to be 58 years old. I'm a little heavier than I want to be. I'm not obese by no means. I'm still active, but things just don't heal as well. And that sort of thing. You don't get over some of the pains and aches and stuff from lifting and doing some of the different things, just normal outdoor chores. Living on a lake, you still have chores to do and that sort of thing. So I think it's just one of those things that I said, you know what? I've never smoked a day in my life, never, ever. So it's one of those things that I said, I can do this. I can just stop eating as much, carbs and sugars and just eat healthier. I feel better. Down just over 20 pounds in 2 months, and I feel good for it.
It's cool. I mean, you look amazing.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
You can see an energy with you, which is awesome.
And my wife's doing it as well. So
that's got to be extremely helpful.
It is. And it is helping her as well. Again, she's by no means overweight either, but at the same time, it's just something that we're doing together. And, it allows us to get out and walk more and just be more active around the house. And we're starting to get into pickleball. Love pickleball. That's fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, love golf. So again, just some of those fun things like water sports. So I want to get back into doing like the wakeboarding and things that I haven't done for a few years. Not that I can't do them. I just been too busy. Well, now I need to start making time to do these things.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's so important, because we talked about that work mentality to have that balance. I love how, having a balance and enjoying your life on top of the work, because that's great. And it's
Absolutely.
great taking care of people, but it's also great taking care of yourself.
You got to. I mean, you got to take care of yourself. You got to take care of your wife, your family, that sort of thing. Family's number one. I mean, I tell everybody, if I have a client call me and my wife calls, one of my kids call her or something, I'm like, hold 1 second. I will not put a client on hold. I'll say, I'll call you right back or something. This is my wife. I got to take this real quick, or bear with me a second. Let me just make sure there's not an emergency or something else I got to address.
Yep.
I'll either call you right back or hold for 1 second. Let me just make sure it's not an emergency. They're stranded somewhere, and I'll be right back. And they're okay. That's fine. I won't do that with another client. Hey, I got somebody calling. Let me tell them I'll call them right back. I'll click over. I'll call you right back because I'm on the phone with a client, and then I'll go right back to that client.
Yeah.
But again, family first, number one.
Oh, it's huge. People have got to appreciate and respect how you answer the phone, and you're so responsive to them. But then it's just explaining, this is it, and this is my priority.
Right. Absolutely.
Especially it's got to be really helpful as you have clients over the course of a lifetime, that it helps train your clients.
It does. It does. I pretty much tell them that, listen, when I go to a closing, I'm like, I'm here for you, whatever you need, whenever you need it. Text me, call me, and being part of, we talked about network groups. I've been a part of a network group for 20 years. I've been more part of network groups in the last 20 years than I've been out of network groups. So, with the Brighton Chamber and the Sears Net group that I'm in, it's just one of those things that I want to be there and be more for my client than just a mortgage broker, which is, Steve Ziskowski tells us about that all the time. I knew Steve back when Steve was in the mortgage business, way before Sears Net. So, again, I just want to be more. I want to be that person they can go to. Hey, if they're looking for an electrician or a plumber or something else, hey, reach out to me. I've been in the business for a long time. I know a lot of people in the area. I can help you with a garage door, electrician, plumber, whatever you may need. I might have somebody for you. And again, I would rather use a warmed up referral anytime than just, hey, I'm calling out of the phone book, which obviously is old school, but going online, Angie's List, whatever the case may be.
Phone books these days?
Yeah, exactly. Again, we're dating ourselves, but those kind of things.
Do they make phone books though? I don't know. I haven't got delivered one in a really long time.
I haven't had one in a few years, but I think they might still make a directory or something.
Okay.
So
I'm just curiosity and randomness, but
yeah. Again, that's probably dating us, but yeah.
But, I love how you transition and start talking about the networking groups, and because that was my next thing that I wanted to go to, because that's where we obviously met was
absolutely.
through SiriusNet, and had have had the chance over the last few years to build that relationship. But I love that mentality of bringing your network with you, and especially you're working with homeowners, and
absolutely.
so I look at our group, and our group is like the home services dream.
Absolutely.
Of like whether you want Christmas lights or power washing or landscaping or home remodeling or
we have it all.
We have it all within our group. So it's got to be a great benefit for you to take your network with you.
It is, and it's funny because I literally use a gentleman that I met about 17 years ago, who's Phil Charette from New Reflections Inc. I actually still use him to this day. That I met him at the original SiriusNet group that I did back then. So again, I've been in SiriusNet this particular time for 9 years. Prior to that, I was in it for 5 years, and it's only been around like 15 years.
I was gonna say, you had to be like at the very pioneering.
Pretty much one of the originals, absolutely.
What have you seen? What have you seen as far as the changes, and what does it look like from now to when you started?
You know what? Before the group that I was with, it was a tough 7:30 a.m. Friday group. Great group, but at the same time, it was one of those things that a lot of people had to be to work pretty soon, so they couldn't do 7:30. So we went from 8, to 10 to 6. There was about 6 people that stayed on. And other than those 6, pretty much everybody else, we couldn't get anybody else to join that particular group. So we slowed down or shut it down for a couple of years. I joined this group, and we go anywhere between 25 to 30 people, all different professionals, from realtors, insurance, landscapers, electricians, plumbers, builders, you name it, we've got it. So somebody can come to me or you, and we've got this entire network group of people that are professionals, that, whatever you need. Hey, you need lighting, you need exterior cleaning. I try to use everybody in my group if I can before I use anybody else. Again, whether it be realtor, whatever it may be. Hey, we got somebody. Let's try to use somebody in our group first. Again, the referral, they're that person you already know, you trust, you like, and they're going to do a good job for you or your clients.
For people listening that may be new to networking and going to networking groups, how can you be successful to understand if you can? Let me rephrase that. You meet people and you go in and you're in a group, and like we're in our SiriusNet group, and we look at we don't necessarily control who sits in a seat, like the real estate agent or whatnot.
Correct.
How do you go about connecting and building relationships with people and knowing that they are great referrals?
Well, you know what? I think the biggest thing is like the one-on-ones that we do and those kind of things. You got to meet that person outside of the group, whether it be a ribbon cutting ceremony. Hey, it's a new business, or it's a company that's rebranding or doing something. You need to be present. You need to go there. You need to meet people, pass out cards, that kind of thing. And get out there, put your name out there, and make sure people know you. And know that if people send me or if I send somebody, I know they're going to be taken care of. And that goes a long ways, because I don't want somebody to look at me and say, hey, you referred this person to me. Yeah. Insurance, as an example, our guy's awesome, Jonathan Hayward.
Yes.
If I send somebody to Jonathan, I know for a fact that Jonathan's going to take phenomenal care of them. He's extremely thorough, which is exactly what you want in an insurance agent. And he's probably the easiest one in our entire group that I have, because I'm in mortgages. He's in insurance, one of the easiest one to refer people to. And I know for a fact that he's going to do a great job for them. And again, I trust that. He's been my guy for like 5 years. Our financial advisor, Jimmy Plasky, here locally in Brighton, Executive Wealth Management. Again, Jimmy's been my guy for like 7 years out of the 9 years I've been in the group.
Yeah.
So again, knowing people, trusting people, using the people you have goes a long ways.
It's so huge. And I love that, because I was, teeing it up there. Yep. And I thought you'd probably have that response, but it's literally going out and meeting people and having those one-on-one connections. And I see a lot of times people join networking groups and they think that one time they go to the meeting every week in their member minute or their little 60-second commercial or whatever will build that know, like, trust and get referrals. And it really takes a bigger commitment than that of building a relationship and getting to know people. And I think that's why our Wednesday group has been so good, is because all of us, I think, have had that. Everybody that stayed has had that mindset, and there's been people in that group that have been there for a long time.
Yep, absolutely. Like I said, I've been there since 2015. Jimmy's been there since 2015. Jim Campbell as well. So there's been a lot of people, and we've lost some people that have moved on to different things. Christina Kafkakis just recently left from Maria Photo Design, but at the same time, we'll still use them, even though they're not in our group, just like I use my friend Phil, New Reflections Inc., that I met, almost 15 years ago. I know he does great work. Absolutely. I trust him. I know him. I could call him up right now during this. I could call him up. He'd answer the phone, know who I am. Hey, I'm dropping the car off. I know you're busy. Can I get it back in a couple days? Had a fender bender, whatever. I know he's going to take care of it. No problem at all.
Steve will love this extra commercial, but I do find that, whether I've been part of companies, like work teams, different networking groups or organizations, there are not many organizations that have the mentality that once you're gone, that you're still one of them.
Usually you are, if you've built a good reputation. Like I said, Christina, or even other people have left a certain industry and moved on to a different industry. You might be like, you know what? Okay, I'm not going to use them for this, but they're in this, and I know them, I trust them, and I would use them.
Yeah.
Even if they move from one thing to another, I'd still be like, hey, I'll give them a chance because I know them, I like them, I trust them, and I know they're going to do a good job for myself or my clients.
And that's what I'm saying. For SiriusNet, it's a different mentality, and I think it starts with the top because Steve, he's all about like continue those relationships. There's no like, oh, they're not one of us anymore. He's not making his monthly fee, and so cut off your relationships. They're the evil. He doesn't have that mentality whatsoever. And to the fact that people that aren't members still can come to Referraltopia or come to a breakfast or whatever, get invited.
And it's not even our group. The good news too is, not to interrupt, but it's not even our group. We go to different things where there's other groups, whether it be, Steve's in Arizona, but at the same time, we do these Zoom calls. People can be in Jackson. They can be in Ann Arbor. They can be in Ann Arbor, Howell. They can be anywhere. We have a new guy, Robert Pierce, is starting his new one up in Fenton.
Yep.
So, this guy cleans house. He's got his own group starting in Fenton. I just reached out to him with another former SiriusNet guy, Bo Bozak from,
I love Bo.
Yeah. Bo's a good guy. I just reached out, had a one-on-one with him. He's getting back in the business. And I even reached out to Robert. Hey, I got a realtor here. Do you know somebody? I happen to fill that already. No problem. But, again, I know Bo. I like Bo. I trust Bo.
Yep.
I would do business with Bo. Absolutely. Or something like that. So, or if somebody knew somebody that was looking for somebody in a different area or something he could service. Again, we have really good people in our group. And again, you trust them, you like them, you know them. And we have these different, breakfast meetings or referraltopias, whatever the case may be, that we have a group of 100 to 150 people show up at the Crystal Gardens. I've been to a couple different things like that and big events. You get to meet other people. The foaling that we did down in Ann Arbor after Referraltopia. That was fun. Throwing a football at a bunch of bowling pins. It was tough, but it was fun. Foaling, I never did that before, but
Bowling is a lot of fun.
It was fun. But again, I would never have done it before if it wasn't for SearsNet. And at the same time, we did the Referraltopia online. Listened to a couple, 3 different people, had good stuff to say. Okay, let's go to the after hours. It's different meeting people outside for a beer and a burger or something than just online, on Zoom and things like that. So I think it goes a long ways.
It's huge. And I want to give you mentioned the breakfast, and man, Steve's going to really love this extra commercial. So speaking of the breakfast, it's really, really cool this year. To me, this is the best networking, the best event of the whole entire year of anything that I do. It's like drinking from the fire hose of the best people around, it's like literally like fire hose, all the best people coming at me in all these amazing conversations. And for the next several weeks, I always have my calendar filled with meetings with awesome people and great opportunities. Right. And, this year is super awesome. I'm going to be speaking.
Awesome.
And Alan Hamilton is also going to be speaking.
ATA?
Coffee and Grit Gas back in December or beginning of actually he was the first episode of the new year.
Nice.
Awesome guy. And also all Coffee and Grit Gas historically are invited to come to the breakfast. So whether you're a member of Sears, there's a lot of SearsNet members that have been on the show, including yourself now. But anybody that has been on Coffee and Grit, and now this is 157 episodes.
Oh, wow.
So anybody that's ever been on Coffee and Grit is getting the VIP invite from Steve that they can join as an honorary member to come to the breakfast.
I love that.
I'm excited about being able to join my 2 favorite groups of people together. And on the Venn diagram, like I said, there's so many SearsNet members that have been on this show.
Right.
But then there's also a lot of SearsNet members that have listened to people that have been on the show. So I'm really excited about building that together.
Yeah, that's very cool. Because like I said, the last one we had that I went to, we had Trisha Turner from Turner Design Group, and we had Jonathan Hayward from Liberty Mutual, now Compare on Insurance. We had both of them as guest speakers.
Wow.
And I can't remember the third one. I apologize, but there was a third guest.
It was Denise
Roberts.
Yep, Denise Roberts. Yep.
That's right. I apologize, Denise. Forgot that.
Other former Coffee and Grit guest,
exactly.
Denise Roberts. Yep.
Exactly. But again, because we have that family atmosphere. Again, I've been part of BNI. I've been part of NetShway. Been part of other types.
You're part of NetShway back in the day.
Way back. LBN, Local Business Network. So I belong to all these different things. SearsNet, I think, is still the best by far. We still have the best group, by the way. 10 o'clock shout out for 10 a.m. Whoop whoop. But no, it's more of a family. It's a good group of people. Again, you got to know, like, and trust them, just like Steve says. In order to refer them, in order to feel comfortable sending your friends, your family, coworkers, whatever it may be, you got to know that person, trust that person in order to be willing to put your name out there. Hey, I referred you. If that comes back bad, that's kind of a reflection on you. So I don't want that. Nobody does. Yeah. So that's why I think it's so important. You got to have those one-on-ones and do some of the extracurricular activity that we do with SearsNet and just to help build that, that platform for everybody.
It's huge. And so I also want to point out 2 obvious things we just talked about. 1, all the guest speakers have been on Coffee and Grit, which is super awesome. But 2, the majority of us are the 10 a.m. Wednesday group. So I'm not saying we're better than everybody, but I'm just saying.
But that's okay.
Steve, you may not have your favorites, but maybe you do.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe. Too funny, but we might be up there. Every time we go to the meetings, I mean, we're the ones that are like, whoop, whoop. Everybody's like, okay, those guys are pretty loud. Yeah, that's us.
We've created a name for ourselves, for sure, an atmosphere.
Absolutely.
What was super awesome, because again, I live by this saying of be the change you want to see.
Yep.
So when you come into a room, is the room better after you leave? Or are they saying, thank God you left?
You know what? I'm right there with you. And one other fun thing with that being said, with, being the same and is it better? I just spoke to another SearsNet guy this morning, Jeff Tenbrook from J10 Marketing.
Jeff, yep.
Again, he's no longer in our group. He's moved on to a different location because of where he lives. Fine. Again, I still reached out to him because I know, like, and trust him, for some advice on some marketing. So again, it's all about that mentality, building that family.
Those relationships for sure.
Huge.
For sure.
Huge.
But so making our mark, that first year we had that energy and, woot woot every time they mentioned. So but every time everybody got to introduce themselves and say what group they were part of. And so everybody from the Wednesday 10 a.m. group made it very well known what group they were part of.
Hey, by the way, if you don't hear us, whoop, whoop. We're part of that 10 a.m. That's us.
We're part of that. That's us. But what was awesome last year is the competitive spirit came out. Other teams took exception to it and they wanted to be heard. Yes. And so it made a really cool environment. It's competitive, but at the same time, it was fun. And I think it brought more energy. And so
it did.
Be that change you want to see, right? You go out there and we did our thing and we made a mark and we could increase the energy.
Absolutely. Everybody's like, okay, now we got to compete to be as good as the 10 a.m. group. You know what? I mean, again, we have 25 to 30 people, somewhere in that range, most all times. It's one of his bigger groups, but at the same time, again, it's kind of that family mentality. I mean, you Absolutely. Have to know, like, and trust people in order to, and again, you're not going to get instant success from this kind of business. You have to come in with that mentality, like, you know what? You're not going to get a referral until you give a referral.
Yeah.
And I mean, you try to give it more than you get.
Yep.
It'll all come back around.
If you go out and you operate in life that way, though, of like, I'm going to go out and do good things for other people, in what better way can you do good things for other people than if you have a friend or a client that is like, I'm really struggling at this thing.
Right.
Oh man, my insurance is like, I don't know what I'm covered for. I don't know. I feel like I'm overpaying, but I don't know. Wow. I've got a guy that he specializes in that. This guy is so thorough. He's going to look through. He's going to ask you a lot of, like he's going to dive in. He'll help you figure it out.
Right.
Like what better way than to do someone a favor than to hook them up with somebody that can take care of their problems?
Absolutely. I mean, there's nothing better than to listen first and figure out what, if somebody has it as a need and you have somebody. Another member where I was talking to somebody this morning about was Helen Habib from Old National Bank.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, they're looking at something. I was like, I can't do that. You need a home equity. By the way, I got somebody. I'll refer Helen to them. I've done my own home equity, send her car loans, send her, land loans, whatever. If something I can't do, I want to refer them to somebody else. If I know somebody to do a good job for them, I got a gal, I got a girl, I got a guy, whatever, that does that. At least reach out to them and see if they can help you.
I talk a lot about, I posted this the other day. I use abrasive language sometimes. I say like dominate. And like when I'm talking to a client or somebody and I'm like, dominating space, they look at it and like, ooh, I don't know about that. That sounds like really aggressive. But when I say that, like you can literally dominate a space without selling to somebody. But again, if you can help somebody, you introduce them to somebody that takes care of them, who do they think about?
They're going to think of you. Hey, thank you so much for referring that person to me. Hey, I was able to get my deck fixed. Alan Hamilton came over and did the deck or did the basement remodel, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And it's like, thank you so much for referring that person. I didn't know where to go. Again, you could look on Angie's List or you could look on different things. Google, hey, look for a good mortgage person. Look at this. I know somebody. If you know somebody and you trust that person, refer them.
Refer them. This is really cool. Carol Kramer, she's part of our group. She was on the show a few weeks ago.
Yep, absolutely.
I've got an awesome opportunity to work with her closely and just amazing. Does acupuncture. She talks about being the last resort.
Yep.
And when she was on the episode, we were talking about being the last resort, and it made me think of a friend I have that is phenomenal. She's a phenomenal consultant, but she suffers from everyday migraines. These intensive
Carol's
headaches,
a gal for sure.
Right. And so, but it was one of those things I was like, I know Kara's been recommended and referred to so many things,
right?
That there's so many things that have come and gone that in fact, I referred something to her and she's like, oh, I've already seen one of those. And so it didn't really work. But I was like, you know what? This is the last resort. Maybe she's never done acupuncture before. And I reached out and last week I talked to Kara and she's like, oh, I'm working with Carol in the acupuncture. So super awesome how that, again, that could be life-changing.
I had acupuncture myself years ago before I did some shoulder surgery and stuff, and it does work. So, I told Carol the same thing. I said, you know what? It does work. I'm here to tell people that it works. Different things work for different people. You'll have to try different things. And she was great when she did her 10-minute presentation for us, explaining a lot of detail. I had no idea all the different detail there was involved in it and how much schooling and education and all the stuff you got to do. It's like, it was crazy. You'd think she was a brain surgery by the time she's surgeon, by the time she finished schooling. But no, she's really good at what she does. She's very passionate about what she does. And again, that's what we have in our group is we have a lot of passionate people that enjoy what they do, but they're passionate about helping out others.
Yeah.
And that's huge.
It's huge. It's huge. Scott, I know we have a solar eclipse that we're,
exactly.
that we're looking at. So I've been trying to keep my eye on the clock, and I see you just checked it out. So thank you so much for coming down.
Oh, this has
glad
been a
we were able
pleasure.
to make this happen and dive into this. It's been an awesome conversation.
Yeah, this was a pleasure. Again, never done one before, but I really enjoyed it and look forward to my next one.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.